Are you ready?
Are you ready?
For a podcast hosted by George T.
Who the hell are you?
I am the movie geek.
Who are you?
I am the movie geek.
You are such a geek.
Thank you.
And now, on with the show.
It's time!
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
Here we go. Welcome into this special edition of the Movie Geek Podcast. We've done Marvel, we've done Star Wars, we've done other ones. This one will be about Alien Romulus and where the Alien movies rank and where we go from here. This franchise has been something that I have loved since the beginning. It has had its missteps along the way, and it's pretty divisive as well with like anything else with Star Wars movies and superhero movies and everything else. But so this one takes place between Alien and Aliens. Obviously, with Aliens, we know that it was 57 years between Alien and Aliens, where she blew up the Nostromo and then drifted off into space. So this movie picks up right about 10 years after the Nostromo is destroyed. We start with a probe ship heading out into deep space. You kind of think that they're looking for Ripley, but we all know they never find her until very later on in the future. They find the cocoon of the alien she blew out of the airlock. A bit far-fetched, but okay, we'll give this a shot here. So they take it back to their base, which we come to find out is a star base that is named Romulus. We come to stumble upon a bunch of teenagers who are looking to get off of the mining planet that they are on. They are engineers, miners, whose parents have all been deceased and are looking for a way out. So one of them comes up with the idea to try to travel to this abandoned ship that is above the planet. Inside, they know that there are some hyper sleep chambers, and so their plan is to sneak aboard the ship, take the pods, and then blast off in their ship to a place that they have wanted to go to for a while. So far, you're like, okay, we're into this now. We've got some teenagers trying to get off the planet. We all know what is going to wind up happening. Let's see where this goes. And so they blast off, and we have the main character. Her name is Rain, played by Kaylee Spaney, and her brother, well, not really a brother, but an android that is technically her brother, David Johnson, plays Andy. Andy is a Weyland-Yutani obsolete android who is kind of defective but only has one purpose left, and that is to make Rain happy. So he comes aboard this ship and they're off. Once aboard the ship, well, you know what's coming next. And it gets you suspenseful right away because it is a darkened ship. It is pretty much abandoned, and it is on a collision course with the rings of this planet that they are on. However, the lead teen who came up with this plan, his name is Tyler, played by Archie Renix, thought that they had about 36 to 48 hours to get in and get out because, it was a decaying ship that was headed toward the rings. They get on board. They start to search around. They find the pods and notice that the pods have been slightly used, so they don't have enough power to get them to where they are headed, a planet called Yuva, which is a terraformed planet that is inhabitable for humans. But, as we come to find out, not so much for androids. So Andy is going to get them there, but he cannot come aboard the planet. It's kind of a sad little moment, but again, it's not particularly that, sad, because we all know that he's just there to protect Rain. So they get aboard. Now, Tyler decides, they need to find a power source to make sure that these pods have enough energy to get to stay in stasis for the 9-year journey this is going to take. He finds a tracker and sees that there is some kind of power still left in this beast of a ship, which is technically not a ship, it's a space station. So he lied already. So they wind up going into this laboratory where they find a half-dead person on the ground next to an acid hole. So my guess would be, as much as yours, they tried to kill an alien, he went through the floor, and this person was melted in half. They find what they're looking for and wind up getting stuck inside this cryo area. But little beknownst to them, when they start to try to get out, something triggers and the temperature starts going up in the cryo chamber. And lo and behold, there is something else lurking inside this chamber. And as the temperature increases, Andy starts to notice that there is something else in the room. He comes upon the wall and finds 36 little cocoons of face huggers. Yeah, face huggers are really nasty things, and these ones were no exception. I think this one really brought back the original horror suspense of things, and I really think this was well done in this regard. So the face huggers start to try to take down the two kids and Andy. Obviously, they are able to escape with the help of Rain, who figures out that the person on the ground is actually an android. She takes his module out and hands it to Tyler to put in Andy's circuits. It takes him a few minutes to reboot, and now he becomes a super android again. Good. It's going to help them because he now has access to the entire ship. That being said, they get out of there, and the facehuggers are all out. They crash through the windows of this cryo thing and wind up jumping onto one of their friends who came out with Rain a girl by the name of Navarro, played by Aline Wu. She gets the face hugger stuck on her. It starts to implant her. We finally find out who the android is on the ship, and it is a throwback to the model that we saw in the original Alien movie, played by Ash, played by Ian Holm. That was who was on the table. So his name is now Rook, and I know there is some problem with the CGI part of bringing back Ash to or Rook in this case. I didn't mind it. It didn't really take away from the movie. I know some people have said, well, why would you call him back? What happened to David? Well, David was well before this. He was not even mentioned in the original Aliens. So we don't know what happens to David. And maybe in one of these shows or maybe another movie along the way, we will find out what actually happens to David. So this was a fun callback to the original movie. So Navarro is, stuck with they're trying to figure out how to get him off. They ask Rook, and Rook says, really can't do much for her. You should kill her now. And, he's pretty much right. Andy, now knowing what Rook knows, is of the agreement that they should kill her. And the kids are like, no, we can't do that. Navarro, they finally get the facehugger off with the freeze little gun that they kind of manufactured with coolant. It falls off. She comes through and she hears what's happening. The Rook character says, if full implantation, it might have been 60-40, not on the good side. So now the decision is, okay, we need to keep her safe or we need to kill her. Navarro takes off to the ship, followed quickly behind by Kay, played by Isabella Mercer, who is actually pregnant we don't know. She just, so that becomes a story plot toward the very end, and I'll get to that very, very soon. Navarro starts to convulse. She had found an X-ray, shining light, and she shines the light on her chest, and there we see the small little alien trying to burst out of her chest. And Kay, and I know I failed to mention the other kid's name, but Bourne, played by Spike Farron, was a real dink. So I was hoping that he was going to die first, but unfortunately Navarro dies first. And it burst out of the chest, and Kay winds up hitting her head on the thing, and it surprisingly doesn't do anything to Kay. It runs away, it cocoons itself in the ship. Bjorn finds it after he finds Kay unconscious and figures, well, it's in its cocoon, maybe I can kill it. He tries to electric shock the alien, and of course that doesn't work because its defense mechanism is acid, so it starts spitting acid at him. And of course the acid winds up killing him, leaving Kay stuck in the ship, trying to escape this brand new, larger alien that is about the size of a teenager. So as she escapes, she winds up falling out of the airlock onto a service area where they had crashed into the docking bay while Navarro was trying to take off, and just random events that just happened to occur. So she winds up trying to crawl away from the alien who is looking for whatever it can find, to harvest more of the face huggers. So he finds a couple of dead bodies while Kay is trying to escape. Kay finds the door to get out into the rest of the ship. Meanwhile, the other team of Tyler, Andy, and Rain have found their way to a area where they can get to the cargo bay to get to Kay, who is now the only survivor of the ship crash. Unfortunately for them, there is just a bunch of facehuggers literally waiting for them on the other side of the door. Andy comes up with a plan to raise the temperature in that room so that they can get across. As long as they don't run, they don't speak, they don't sweat, the temperature will stay humanized, 98.6, just so that the humans can get through. He doesn't have a problem because he's an android. He doesn't radiate the body heat. So this is a very intense scene because, again, you're like, wow, are they really going to try this? Are they really going to try to get through the face huggers to get to Kay? Sure enough, they get through, barely get through. They get to the area where Kay is, and now she needs to get out. Andy knows the danger of letting Kay out of that room because he knows that the alien is creeping in behind her. If he lets Kay in, they all die. He lets Kay begging for her life, but Andy will still not let her in. She gets taken by the alien. They all think she's dead. And clearly we know what the alien was using her for later on in the film. So Tyler and Rain and Andy now have to try to figure out how to get off the ship without getting killed. They wind up coming into the lab where we get a Prometheus throwback. They were engineering or re-engineering what David had done in Prometheus. They talked briefly about the canisters, the single-celled organisms that destroyed civilization. And again, this is all touched upon in Prometheus. They showed what they were experimenting on animals. They were experimenting on humans, and with not much success. However, they were still trying to make sure that they could make humans more indestructible and so on. But again, with an alien species, it's going to be really tough to do that. But they were trying to do that in this lab. So Andy's new role now, because he took over Rook's mind with her switching out his commands, now is in charge of getting samples off the ship. So he now needs to find the escape pod and get off the ship, or at least get them back to that ship that they were on, repair it, and he was going to go back to the surface with the specimens. So then there was an Aliens callback to a locker that had the pulse rifles in it, and so Tyler is showing Rain how to use it, and just kind of funny that he knows how to use the pulse rifle, and it is very much a callback to Ripley getting shown by Hicks, who is the only real one that survives that whole thing on Aliens. So they get to handle these pulse rifles, but then Andy goes, we may not need to be able to use them because they have acid for blood. And so Tyler's like, well, why give us the guns for? And he was like, well, maybe showing a gun will make them back off. Well, obviously it's not going to, but it was a good plan. They wind up in a baggage area corridor. They're trying to get away from going into the main areas where obviously the facehuggers were and possibly where the alien is. And what they run into is a nest, just like in Aliens. They had built this area here, and so they say, well, maybe we should go back the way we came, but it was too late. They were spotted, and they had to make a break for it. And all of a sudden, before that, they hear, or Tyler hears, Kay crying in the background. So, of course, he has to go and find her. She's cocooned, like in Aliens, where we see, all of the colonists cocooned, and, the one lady that wakes up and has a chest burst incident. So we get Kay down, and now we got to get to the service elevator without any more further entanglements. So Tyler gets them to the service elevator, but then Tyler is taken out by an alien from above. It sticks his tail right through his chest, brings him up into a horde's nest of aliens at this point. And now Rain has to get them out of there. At this point, Andy is stuck because he was attacked by one of the aliens and now is dripping his white milk, as we call it, that android blood, as they say. Kay gets onto the service elevator. Rain is going to take her back to the ship. Rain stops and is going to go back for Andy, tells Kay to get onto the ship, get it prepped, and we will see you on the ship. Kay at this point is in a lot of pain, a lot of trouble. The android Rook had told them about if you're real pain or you want to help yourself, you can use one of the samples, but 25% of it, and that way the alien DNA would make you stronger. Well, of course, Kay winds up taking it, and it comes back to haunt her, obviously, at the end. So Rain comes back down the service elevator, actually, the ladder. It's a weird elevator shaft, but she winds up somehow getting all the way down the ladder in enough time to get Andy. They are trapped and cannot go backwards, so they have to go forward to get back to the service elevator. But again, there's multiple aliens coming at them, and they start telling each other jokes, and Andy has all these dad jokes programmed into him. And all of a sudden, he tells a joke about zero gravity. Rain says, "Oh, you know what? I got a good idea." So she knows that the zero gravity tethers have been going off. So she decides, you know what? We're going to take on the aliens in 0G. And so they brace for anti-gravity to kick in, and all of a sudden the aliens start going in the air, but they're quick to regather themselves, and she lights them up with a pulse rifle. And all you see are streams of acid just everywhere. She winds up killing them all, and now has to, obviously escape, because now they've got about 10 minutes before the space station is to crash into the rings. So before the gravity kicks back in, they make a daring escape through the zero-G acid, and it's just intense. Like, you're like, are they really going to try this? Who's going to, is Andy going to make it? Is he or she going to make it? Is she going to get burned? And it was pretty interesting. They get to the cargo elevator, and that's when gravity kicks in. But not before. They were headed up the shaft to the elevator, and right as soon as the gravity kicked in, Rain was just about at Andy, and she starts to fall down the elevator shaft, reminiscent of Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man movie. And she's not caught by Andy, but she's caught by one of the aliens climbing up the ladder. In a strange, occurrence. Why would the alien have caught her and kept her alive? Obviously, they didn't know what was going on to the ship, so he was going to probably grab her and harvest her like they were going to do with Kay and everyone else. So Andy figures out how to get the elevator move. She sees it coming, and Andy takes out a bunch of them with the elevator. He then finds the pulse rifle and takes out the last alien along the way, and a throwback to Aliens as well. Says, "Get away from her, you bitch." And, the audience started laughing because, again, the way he said it, and just touching upon, the Aliens movie, it was quite good. So they get back to the ship. Kay is on the ship. They're ready to go, and they are on autopilot as she's trying to fix David, but she is putting Kay into one of the cryopods. And you think, okay, well, we know she's in trouble. So as Rain is about to go into hers, all of a sudden panic happens in the cryopod, and it starts to ring, danger, danger, danger. And then we open this up, and Kay is giving birth at the moment, not through her chest, but through her vagina. She now gives birth to a humanoid alien, and this thing is reminiscent of a young engineer from Prometheus. As this thing grows, it becomes a teenager awfully quick, and then it becomes this big, 8 to 9 foot, just horrifying monster. Skinny, has multiple features of the alien, and it is trying to survive on the ship. It finds Kay, who has found her way out of the pod somehow. I still don't know. And instead of having the retractable jaws or teeth, it has some kind of a tentacle, and it winds up attaching itself to Kay and sucking her life force out of her as it continues to grow. Now Rain has to defend herself against this thing without Andy, who is being attended to by rebooting and everything else. So she winds up figuring out, as it gets colder in there, because the ship is just stopped and it's just ice cold. Throwing back to Alien again, where she winds up crawling into a spacesuit and now realizes that the cargo bay down below, if she could trap it in there, she could drop the cargo bay and it would be gone. So that's where we go next. And as she's about to finish, she's attacked, but she is tethered so that if she does get to finish off the releases, she can drop the pod and she would survive. I know, a little far-fetched, but so what winds up happening is there's a pod of acid that the alien came out of. She dumps it down. It burns through the cargo bay and everything kind of gets sucked out of there, including her. But she's hanging on by the tether and she starts to climb back up as she's getting closer and closer to the ring. And lo and behold, this creature is right there. It's, trying to attack her, and Andy winds up flipping the switch and the cargo bay drops through and she survives and crawls back in and then gets the ship to go, and they are off with the samples as well. So this could lead to another movie, or this could lead to LB 426. Again, we don't know. Or, another expensive movie. So I thought this movie was very, very good. And I think that I would give it 2 stars. There are a lot of little things in there that don't necessarily make a lot of sense, but I think going all the way back to Alien and Aliens, I think this did a good job of building the suspense and just making it feel like an alien movie. So I give it 2 thumbs up, and I hope that if you do get to see it, you'll feel the same way. So with that being said, let's get us into the Alien history. So obviously, Alien starts with the Nostromo being sent to LB 426, which was unsurveyed at that time, but there was a company, the company Wayland Yutani, picked up a alien or a distress call of some sort. They were sent to the planet to find out what was going on there, and that's when obviously Kane and the others found the cocoon nest, and he had the face hugger on him, and then that's how it all started. Ripley survives, winds up in space, and 57 years later, we come to Aliens, where she's told that everyone that she loves is dead, which I thought maybe this movie had something to do with that element of it, because obviously there's a video game called Alien Isolation, which deals with the daughter of Ripley looking for Ripley herself. It is suspenseful, just like the movie. So I thought maybe that was kind of what it is. Maybe we might even get to see an Alien Isolation movie after this one. Who knows? So then you had Aliens, which was arguably one of the top sequels of all time. Cameron knocked it out of the park for Ridley Scott with the military force and Ripley surviving again. And then we get Aliens 3, which was just awful. It was made in 3D, or I think it was. It had, Ripley crash landing on a prison colony of all men, and she was impregnated by the alien in that film. She winds up killing herself in that one, so that Wayland cannot get his hand on the alien. And then we get Alien Resurrection. There's really not much to say about this movie. I'm not even gonna bother. But Ron Perlman and Winona Ryder were in it, and Winona Ryder actually played one of the androids in this movie. And Sigourney Weaver came back as clone number 14 because they were trying to clone Ripley to be the mother of this new species of aliens. It's absolute trash. Don't even bother. Absolute trash. So, and I know that Alien vs. Predator is sort of in the Alien franchise now. It's only canon because it was a comic book. Alien vs. Predator was okay. It was an interesting concept. I thought could have been a little bit better. But actually, the original one was better than the sequel, Alien Predator Requiem. But with all kind of sequels, a lot of them sometimes don't live up to the hype, on like Aliens did, where that exceeded the original Alien movie. So we kicked the can on Resurrection, and then Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and there was a lull until Ridley Scott decided to do a movie that he wanted to do, which at the time he said was not a direct prequel to the original Alien movie. He was like, it's a standalone movie. It has a few elements of Alien, but it was an Alien prequel. I mean, anybody who watched the movie knows that, but Ridley Scott was dead set on doing a prequel. Well, it wound up being a prequel. So Prometheus is where we meet an ensemble cast. Had Michael Fassbender, who was playing David, the android. You had Charlize Theron. You had Isaac. Naomi Rapace. Sorry, I probably screwed up her name. Played Elizabeth Shaw. We had Guy Pearce, who played Mr. Whalen, who created David. And then Idris Albus, great actor. I know I probably messed up his name. He was the captain of the ship. And it was just about who probably created the aliens in the first place. And I thought it was well done. I know there were a lot of people that absolutely hated it. I don't know why. I thought it was really good. I thought it was. So after this movie comes out, now people are like, okay, you made a prequel. I know you didn't say you made one. We need another one. We need a bridge now. We know that these aliens exist. We know who created them. And now we know who is ultrally creating them. So we had engineers, but then we had David, who was intrigued by what the engineers had done, which leads into Alien Covenant, where we find out what happened when David figured out the formula, as it were. He destroyed the engineers on this planet that a group of wayward people looking for a new home. And we also find out that Elizabeth Shaw was the mother of these creatures. She was the harbinger of David's sick and twisted mind. And, again, David was very intrigued by all this, but so the end of the movie sees. So, because I won't go through all of it, but sees Catherine Watterson's character, Daniels, is the only survivor of the crew, where David is now in charge because the unit that they had on their ship was called Walter, and he was also Michael Fassbender. And David winds up killing Walter and taking over Walter's place. He goes onto the ship where they are holding over 2,000 colonists, embryos, like thousands of embryos, and he starts implanting alien embryos into the ship. That's how it ends. We don't know what else happens to him. Unfortunately, we may not get another one because Ridley Scott wanted to make another one, but the studios didn't want him to. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. But he needs to make one now, or somebody does, because we need that third bridge to get from where David and his engineering to where we got to with the Nostromo finding LV-426. Basically pretty simple. So the franchise, I think, can still live on. I think if this movie continues to do well at the box office, which it has, I think there'll be more fanfare for more Alien movies, which I wouldn't mind. I really don't. There is a show coming out on FX very soon, but it has nothing to do with the Alien timeline or anything like that. This is before all of that. The Weyland-Yutani relationship on Earth, and corporations. Maybe this is how we find out they know about these aliens. Maybe this is set right before they send the Nostromo out. We're not entirely sure yet, but it is coming out very soon, and I cannot wait to see it. And obviously, I'll give my review when it is done. So that is my take on the Alien franchise as a whole. What do you guys think? You can again comment on YouTube, on Spotify, or wherever you get this podcast. You could even hit me up on my socials, which is just my YouTube and my Instagram, Geoted3. Like I said, enjoyed this movie. Like I said, there's a few things that are kind of just kind of thrown in there, teenagers being teenager type things. But overall, it brings back the original element of suspense from the original movie and throws in some of what Cameron did in Aliens, and I'm all for it. So we need another movie at some point. Maybe we will get a follow-up movie to find out how these two made out. There was talk of doing a throwback movie where Hicks and Ripley did survive, along with the little girl that was Newt, that was in the other movie. I don't think that ever will happen, but if it does, hey, I'm all for it. I know they were talking about it. Maybe with success comes another one. Then they can erase the third one, and Resurrection would be nice. So, this being the Alien, I do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you at the movies.
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.